Goeiemorgen, good morning, Millah, bonjour, comment ça? Today I'm going to show you how to make this black and colourburst belt. The belt will be worked lengthwise, going in rows from right to left, cut the yarn at the end, right to left again, so that all the rows is right side facing to the same side. It's worked mainly in black with a specific pattern of colour bursting through the black. You will need yarn. I'm using cotton all the way. For the black I'm using a Kisme Raisa in color number 02, which is black. For the colourburst I'm using all kinds of bits and pieces, and so they're not all from the same brand. Sorry for the brand conscious people. So I'll be using LE Cottons, which is also a double knit, and the green is called 061 Pear, color Seawater, color Purple. And then for the red I'm using this huge ball of yarn, which is color 009 Red. Also a 3.5mm crochet hook, something with which to cut the yarn, a belt buckle color of your choice. The one I have is bronze, and this one is 33 by 18mm. And then some eyelets. I'm using black ones with a eyelet punch and a measuring tape. Please note that when I crochet I use UK terminology, but when I remember I will mention the US equivalent and of course Afrikaans. In order to make this project you will need to know how to make a chain stitch, a double crochet, chainless foundation double crochet 2 together, a slip stitch, and how to fasten off. So let's get started. For row 1, using the color black, attach the yarn to the hook in whichever method you prefer. I use a slip knot. And then we will be making a chainless foundation for approximately 86 centimeters. To make the chainless foundation double crochet, the first stitch are different from the others. So yarn around the hook, draw up a loop, making 1 chain, 2 chains. This part will be quite hard to see in the black, but I have a separate video for the chainless foundation double crochet. Go through 2 of the loops of the first slip stitch, any 2 of the loops, yarn around hook and draw up a loop through those 2 loops only, so that you have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around hook and draw through 1 loop only, still leaving 2 loops on the hook, yarn around and pull through both. Turning slightly so that you can see, insert the hook underneath both loops of the previous stitch at the bottom, yarn around and draw up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Then yarn around and draw through 1 loop only, and those 2 loops that were just formed there at the bottom is where the next stitch is where the needle will be inserted. No, is where the hook will be inserted for the next stitch. I know it's really hard to see that on the black wool, so please have a look at my chainless foundation double crochet video if you do not know how to make one. Yarn around hook and now pull through both. Keep on working in this manner, making chainless foundation double crochets. Insert the hook underneath both those loops from the previous stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw up through 1 loop only, then yarn over and pull through both. That is 1 chainless foundation double crochet. Insert the hook underneath those 2 loops just formed there at the bottom, yarn around, draw up a loop, yarn around through one loop only, yarn around through both loops. Continue making chainless foundation double crochets until you have a total length of around 86 centimeters. I will do that and join you when I'm almost at the end. Okay, let's see. When you measure this, don't pull at the crochet while you're measuring. Just keep it there and let it glide, making sure it doesn't twist as well. So that's 80. That looks like around about 84. So I'll make 2 or 3 stitches more, count them, and be back to give you the total count for row 1. So it is 175 stitches. You can adjust that according to the middle of the person you are working for. Add a few centimeters just so that belt can have some overlap. This part is completely optional, but I do like to have stitch marker so that I can always know exactly which stitch is the first one, especially with the black. That makes it much more difficult to see what's going on. And so we will now start row 2. To start row 2, if you prefer to make a chain and then the first double crochet, that is up to you, but we will be making double crochets into every stitch, and I prefer to start with a standing double crochet. Remember that the part where the slip knot is at the bottom is the bottom end. We are working into this side. So make sure the loop on hook is rather loose. Directly insert the hook under both loops of the first stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. That is the standing double crochet, and then I will insert a stitch marker here, if I can, just to make sure that I remember which one was the first and the last stitch. We will work 7 double crochets. The first 7 stitches will be double crochets. 1, 2, the standing double crochet was the first one, so 2. I have changed my mind. Instead of 7, we will work 11 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. On the 11th stitch, do not complete the stitch. So insert the hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, leave that there, and bring in the red yarn. On the last part of this double crochet, change over to the red yarn. So all I'm doing is simply holding the tail ends there and complete the stitch with red. So that whole stitch is still in black, but the next stitch has a red loop on the hook ready. Now, if you've been watching my channel any period of time, you will know that I tie knots left, right and center, because I have a very big fear that my crochet will become undone. We will work over this I can't find it. There it is. We will work over this black yarn, carry it towards the back, because we will be swapping between black and red quite a bit. And I will work in the yarn tail of the red together with the stitches. So this is only the yarn tail. It does not turn into a half treble. Insert the stitch, making sure that you catch the black yarn that we are carrying, draw up a loop, and pull through all. 1. Yes, that one single stitch will be slightly thicker than the others. There's a bit of a tail that escaped. Come, gonna work over you. 2, 3, 4 red stitches. For the 4th stitch, once again, do not complete the stitch. For the 4th stitch, only insert the hook, draw up a loop, change to the black yarn that we've been working over until now, and complete the stitch in black. Now the next 4 stitches will be worked in black with a double crochet stitch, this time working over the red yarn, keeping it towards the back of the stitch. So insert the hook into the next stitch, yarn over, capturing the red, and complete a double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Once again we are working 4 double crochets in black, and on the 4th stitch do not complete the stitch, instead swap back from black to red, completing the stitch in red, and gently tug at your work to make sure that there where we're carrying the yarns it does not pull tight. Okay, now for the next 4 stitches in red again, making sure to carry the black across the back, insert, draw up a loop, complete the double crochet for 4 stitches, and this will be the pattern throughout. 4 black, 4 red, 4 black, 4 red, carrying the yarn that you're not using at the back of the work, and every 4th stitch complete knots with the yarn that you're using. Where is it? There is it. But with the next color yarn. Okay. So continue doing this until you are rather near the end. That would be when there are only 4 stitches remaining. Instead of swapping back to red, we will continue with black, but I will join you there. Continue working row 2, 4 stitches black, 4 stitches red, and see you at the end. I'm over at the end of row 2. This part will be the tongue of the belt. If you don't have an exact stitch count of any multiples, this bit towards the end is where you will just decide how much black you will need and when you stop working the pattern. After working the last red, I fastened off the red, working over the yarn tail of the last bit of the red. Continue working 1 double crochet into each stitch. There's 2 or 3 more to go. I'm going to stop working over the yarn tail so I can work that in later. Hey, yarn tail, be gone. And then the last stitch will be in the chain, and into the very last stitch of the previous row, work 2 double crochets. Okay, I know it's really hard to see in the black, but the chains that we started the chainless foundation with counts as the last stitch. So 2 double crochet into that very last stitch, so the tongue will have a tapered edge towards the middle. See, like slowly going that way. Then fasten off. To fasten off, I make 2 chains, cut the yarn, leaving as many as is comfortable for you to weave in. That is the end of row 2. For row 3, we will start again from the beginning and make sure that the right side is facing you. If you turn this and work forwards and backwards in double crochets, then every second color row, the color will almost be invisible. we have the stitch marker to remind us where's the first stitch. Fasten the yarn to the hook, leaving a longer yarn tail. We will use these bits and pieces to work this part over the buckle, so we can attach it with all these yarn ends to make sure the buckle is attached very securely. Starting with a standing double crochet, simply draw up a loop and pull through both. That yarn tail we will use later after the standing double crochet, or however you want to double crochet your first stitch. Make 8 more double crochet. 1, 2, 7, and in the 8th stitch do not complete the stitch, so that we can attach the next color. I'm using blue as my second color. And complete the stitch with blue. Then, since I have this thing about my yarn tails, I'm going to tie the blue to the currently working black, so they're not coming apart. For the next 4 stitches, we will make blue double crochets, working over the black yarn, carrying it to the next place where it will be used. 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, just as with the previous row, we do not complete the stitch with the color, but complete it with the black, so that we have a black loop on hook, and then we continue working in black, carrying the blue yarn. And for the rest of the row, that is the pattern: 4 black, 4 blue, carrying the other working yarn in the back, and finishing every color change with the next color. Continue until the end of the row, and I'll meet you again towards the end. I'm at the end of row 3, or close to the end. After the last blue, I have fastened off, and we will not repeat that blue pattern anymore for the last few stitches. As with the red, and as I will do with the other colors, just work over the last bit of the blue yarn end, the blue tail, and that bit I will work in towards the end, even though I don't like yarn tails. Continue 1 double crochet into each stitch, looks like I've worked my increase too tightly, and again in the last stitch we will work 2 double crochet, so making an increase to form the pointy bit of the tongue of the belt. Then fasten off. To fasten off, I chain 2, leave a long enough yarn end to comfortably work it in afterwards, and pull it tight. So that was the end of row 3. For row 4, we'll be using the green yarn. Of course, you're welcome to use your own color combinations. I did go through my stash and just pick the brightest colors for the color parts. Attach the yarn to the hook, using whichever method you prefer, and leaving a long enough yarn tail to sew the belt buckle. I'm getting everything all tangled up multiple times. And we will start into the first stitch with a standing double crochet, meaning trying to figure out which one is the working yarn and which ones are all the tails. Oh my goodness. Gotcha, finally. Okay, all the tails out of the way. For the standing double crochet, insert the hook, yarn over, and pull through both. After the standing double crochet, make another 8 double crochet in the black yarn. 1, 2, 7, and on the 8th only complete half the stitch and then complete the rest of the stitch with a green. We will only be working 2 stitches now in green, and the reason for that is I do not want the color to creep up too far that side, so that when we sew in the yarn buckle, no, the belt buckle, then working over the black and working away this green yarn end, this will be only for 2 stitches so that the color doesn't creep up too close to the end where the yarn buckle is being worked. And then do not complete this stitch in green. There's only 2 stitches in green, and the second one you complete with black, so that, tug it a little bit, we can then continue the pattern and make 4 stitches in black, carrying the green yarn, working in black for 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th stitch, do not complete in black but complete in green. Exactly the same as for the others, it's only the placement of the colors that differs. Then 4 stitches in green, working over the black yarn, carrying it forward, 4 green, 4 black until the end of the row, and I will meet you there. Give a little tuck to make sure the last stitch isn't too loose, and stretch to make sure that the carrying yarns don't pull. I am close towards the end of row 4, as you can see, still row 4. Now I do not want any more color changes after this. I do not want any more color changes after this part of red, and so this green will be the last repetition of green, similarly to at the start, wanting to cut off all color changes around this area so that we can have a piece of black to work in the belt buckle. And the same, I want the entire tongue to be in black, and so this will be the last green. My fingers feel very clumsy today. Anyway, so there are 2 stitches, there are 2 more still to work, carrying the black towards the back of the stitch, and then this will be the last stitch of green, where we do only the first half of the stitch in green, complete the stitch in the black, I make 1 double crochet, just a warning, which I'm going to undo. Then I insert the hook into this back loop, and that 3rd bump, let me show you on another stitch, it would be into that back loop as well as that bump towards the back. I just insert the hook there, draw up a loop so that there is a loop on the hook again for the green, and then fasten off as I normally do by chaining 2, cut the yarn, pull out the hook and tighten that so that it's a very secure knot. Then I pull out this double crochet that I've made, making sure to not pull out the loop so that I can work at least for a stitch or 2. I can work across the green yarn tail, and that is how I fasten off all the color bursts. I think I've carried the green far enough now. I will weave in that last little bit on its own, and for the last few stitches of row 4, 1 double crochet into each stitch until there are only 2 stitches remaining. So the tongue of the belt has come out far enough now. Now we need to pull it back into the other side, and to do that, double crochet 2 together for the last 2 stitches. To do that, insert the hook underneath both loops of the second last stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop. Do not complete the stitch, instead insert it under the last stitch as well, yarn over and draw up a loop so that you have 3 loops on hook, and then pull through all 3 and fasten off I know it looks a bit wonky now with all that yarn ends hanging everywhere, but it will take shape when we're done. And that is the end of row 4. For row 5, we're basically repeating the same thing once again, but I want to show you 1 or 2 things more clearly. In the first place, if you struggle with the yarns twisting, I have taken a disposable zip bag and placed the 2 yarns of wool, both center pulling, that I'm going to use in it together. Then, leaving the younger yarn tail for the beginning, we start with a standing double crochet as usual, insert the hook, yarn over, 2 loops on hook, pull through both, and now, because we do not want more color to this side, we want the color bursts to stop there, we will be working 12 double crochets in black before we change color. That is after the standing double with which we've started. So 1, 2, 11. This is the last stitch of black. So this is where we only do half the stitch, do not complete the stitch, but attach the next color, which in my case is purple. So complete the stitch with the purple, and then, as I always do, and you don't have to, you can do this in whichever way you prefer, but I like to tie knots, not willy-nilly, just when I think it's necessary. Now we will work the double crochet in purple, working over the yarns that we're not using. Complete the stitch, and then give a little tuck to the black to make sure that that stitch there isn't too loose. I am also going to work away this yarn end by working it into the stitch. It is not a half treble, it is still a double crochet. I'm not yarn over on the working yarn, just taking away the yarn tail or some of it. Still carrying the black. I also want to show you something with the color changes. So sometimes with a color change and all this maneuvering of the yarn, the last stitch is a little loose. So after you have changed the yarn, there where you need to work over this yarn, tug on this one a little bit. You can also do the stitch halfway first, and then tug on this color you've just stopped working with. Not enough to scrunch up the work, but just enough to tighten that stitch. And when you've completed the stitch, also pull a little bit towards this side to make sure that the yarn tail that you're carrying there is not pulling everything too tight. So again, 4 stitches of the color and then 4 stitches of the black, carrying the color at the back of the work. 2. If you've been crocheting with the 2 colors and consistently turning them the same way around and around as you swap colors, then eventually your yarn will have quite a few twists around and around, which is why I like to put them in a Ziploc bag next to each other. And then all you need to do is turn the bag. You can also turn the bag after every color change, then it never becomes quite a tangle. And as you're turning them, they will untwist until it's now all sorted out again. Having said that, now at almost the end of row 5, as you can see, this is close to the last color change. I have just worked 1, 2, 3 double crochets in black, but I want the color change to end at this in line with the red one, and so this will be the 4th one in black. So we will do 1 more swap over to purple, carry the black. It will only be for 2 stitches, stretching out to make sure it doesn't pull, and tugging the carried color to make sure that last stitch is not scrumpled up or too loose. Even out the tension, and this time we will only do it for 2 stitches. So on the 2nd stitch, so we're only doing half of normal. Change to black. There you can see how the last stitch is very loose, and that is why tagging a little keeps it tighter. Again, make 1 stitch in black, then going through the back loop and this 3rd loop in the back, draw up a loop with a color and fasten off by chaining 2. This is my method. You can do it as you wish. Pull out the yarn hook, pull tight, pinch tight, then undo the stitch but don't lose the loop. And work over the colored yarn end a few times. I think that's enough. Continue working double crochet with the black yarn until there are 2 stitches remaining, and because we want the point to taper back up again, the last 2 stitches will be a double crochet 2 together. 1 double crochet halfway, second double crochet halfway and finish them both at the same time, and then fasten off. For me, that's chain 2, cut out, tight, pull. That is the end of row 5. It's also the end of the color work, so row 6 should be quite short and easy. Attach the yarn to the hook. Start in the beginning with a standing double crochet in the first stitch. Oi, and these yarn ends are getting more and more. And this time, nothing complicated, no need to count, no need to change colors, just one black double crochet into each and every stitch all the way to the end of row 6. I'll be doing that and see you again in a bit. I'm almost at the end of row 6, and I've also worked in the yarn ends of all the color pieces and all the other yarn ends towards the tongue of the belt. So to finish row 6, continue working one double crochet per stitch, and then, yikes, now that I've worked in the yarn ends I can't see how many stitches there's left. This should be the last double crochet, and then for the last 2 stitches again double crochet 2 together, now at this stage you can look at the width of the belt. If you want it to be wider than it currently is, you can continue from here on and work another double crochet border all around there, around the bottom, around the other end, and around the top. That will give it a bit more width. I do not want it any wider than this. I like it as is, but I do want to neaten up this tongue section. And so what I am going to do is going to work a border around the tongue and end it there, just so that looks a little bit tidier. Okay, so all I'm working is for every row end one double crochet. It's a bit hard with black yarn because nobody can see a thing. Don't worry, it's not just on camera, I can't see a thing either. Just wherever you find a comfortable a comfortable place, approximately 1 row, so 1 double crochet for every row. Wherever you can find a comfortable place to work in a double crochet stitch. Maybe 2 here in around the point of the lip, 1 there and 1 there. Don't worry if you can't really see very well what I'm doing. It really is almost impossible to see. Just wherever the needle allows you, nope, needles are for knitting. Wherever the crochet hook allows you to get a stitch in, do that. Okay. If it goes like this, then it's too tight, which means all my hard work. So I will work 1 extra stitch in the same spot. There really is no other place. That is 1 row end. Nope, that is the only one it will go through. Maybe we'll make 2 there. And then 1 there. As long as it lays flat and now forms a neater edge all around, and I'm twisting everything beyond recognition. Okay. Maybe 2 more in here then. Or yep. Let's do 2 more here. 1, 2. And 1 there. 1 there. 1 there. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the bottom end, because that's the knot where I fastened off the first round, and I don't want to make a double crochet on the knot, it will just make it more bulky. So I'll slip stitch 1 in here, and then fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn tail to work in quite comfortably. So in total, after making the double crochet 2 together, I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 double crochet and 1 slip stitch. Next up, work away this yarn tail, pulling it slightly up to make the edge there more equal. And if you haven't worked in all the yarn ends, work those in. So we're done crocheting now. This is how much is left of the 50-gram skein of yarn, so I don't even think we've used half for the black. For the color yarns, I have used no more than 6 meters per color. So now, with the wrong side facing towards the straight edge, not the edge with the lip, you will put the belt buckle in there and work this back in. Just make sure that when you want to tighten the belt, and use this thingamabobby, it's not upside down like mine currently is. So make sure to sew it such a way so that when the lip goes through and the belt buckle sticks in, it's all the right way around. Okay, so I will sew in this yarn end and sew up this bit and be back in a minute. It is now time to add the eyelets. Now it depends on you how close together you want them, and also how far along the belt you would like them. For me, I've decided that around about 12 will be what I need, and so I'm going to place them into this row, kind of between the middle 2 colors is the most center, and I would like them to be against the black. I am using black eyelets, and so I would like them to be against the black yarn, and so I'm going to place one on either side of the blue. So one this side of the blue and the other one on that side of the blue. To place them, have the right side of the eyelet there, and then you can maneuver it a bit on the other side to make sure that your yarn goes around it, so it doesn't go through the yarn, but it goes around the yarn. Then use your eyelet sponge, let it go, and then squeeze to secure the eyelet in place. I'll be doing that all along as I said, using 12 eyelets for the last beginning and ending of the blue. Every transition blue to black for around the last 12 transitions. And that should suffice for eyelets. Okay, I'll be doing that and see you again at the end. So the belt is almost done, buckle attached, yarn ends worked in, and eyelets. The one last thing that needs to be done when you have tied the belt around your waist, then why does this feel very wrong? How do belts work again? Don't tell me I've done this all wrong. The last thing that we still need is a band or a loop or a whatever thing to keep the lip in place there. Right now the belt is 3 centimeters in width. You don't want to struggle to stick the tongue in there, and so I would go for, let's say, 8 centimeters on an 8 centimeter loop. Yes, it is still tight enough to keep it in place, but not too difficult to get it in there. We start once again. So working chain stitches rather loosely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for my tension I need 15 chains, making sure there's no twists in it. Outsides facing, bump sides facing. To the first stitch, the first chain, making a ring. Still making sure that we have outsides facing. Also immediately in that first stitch we will make a standing double crochet working over this yarn tail. So 1 stitch, and in fact, since it is so hard to see what's happening in black yarn, I'm going to place a stitch marker there, working into the back bump of each of these little chains. Make 1 double crochet, so there should be in total 14 of them at the end. 1 double crochet worked into each stitch, and then slip stitch into the first stitch, and boy am I glad I used a stitch marker to know where that is, and slip stitch. I think we'll do 1 more row, and I think for this one we are going to use a chain, and then underneath both loops work 1 more round of double crochets, and I am going to replace the stitch marker to help me keep track. So 1, 2, 13, 14, and then we will join with an invisible join. To do that, completely pull out the yarn, and all that it is you are emulating another stitch by manually inserting the yarn. So the yarn will come out of there, go around that stitch and then go inside of there again, so it looks like another stitch. Ooh, don't tighten it. Turn it back, so, and there you have it. One belt, buckled eyelets, looped, the whole thing. I hope you've enjoyed this. Remember that you can adjust the length of the belt according to the desired length for yourself or the recipient. Until next time, have fun crafting.